Welcome back, everybody.
Welcome back. We're in a mad rush before the battery runs out. But
Right.
we'll finish the show on
Yeah,
a cell
yeah, we're
phone
gonna
if we
finish
have
it.
to.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I was going to talk about Ruth Chris, but you had a funny story about a relative of yours.
Yes.
You were telling me, yeah.
Yeah. My family and I went on a vacation
Mm,
back in when I was a teenager,
mm,
and one of my cousins was just a baby, and we were going to get ready to go out to eat because we were trying to find a restaurant,
mhm,
where we wanted to go out to eat because we were like riding around,
yeah.
and then we were following my uncle, to see where he wanted to go.
Mhm.
So anyway, my aunt was like, "Let's go here, let's call, so and so, And then he just starts passing by a certain restaurant, and she'll be like, "Bye McDonald's," and then he'll pass by another restaurant. She'll be like, "Bye Burger King." Where are we going? I don't know what to do.
I had a
So,
sister, Maeve, who loved McDonald's so much and she wouldn't even eat regular food. She'd just eat McDonald's all the time.
oh really?
She'd always try to. She loved French fries,
Oh,
which I can't bloody well stand the McDonald's French fries. They're skinny and greasy.
I mean, I love McDonald's French fries. So,
Well,
yeah,
evidently they're doing something right. They sell enough of them,
yeah.
but they don't sell them to me. So, but I haven't eaten at McDonald's in like probably 30 years. But so what happened was, my mom got so mad at my sister that she said, my mom was very religious. She said, Maeve, why don't you bless yourself every time you pass a McDonald's?
Yeah.
So then I said, the next time we passed the McDonald's, I remembered that joke. I said, Maeve, why don't you bless yourself when you pass a McDonald's? And she went, and then the arches.
She was like,
And so I was at not McDonald's, the furthest thing from McDonald's, Ruth Chris Steak House.
"Oh
Now,
yeah."
before I go into the story, what was the fanciest restaurant you've ever been to? Or tell me about it
Um,
if you don't remember the name of it. Tell me what it was like.
there was a when I went to my high school prom.
Yeah. You've been to prom, haven't
Yeah, I didn't have a date, but
you?
my dad took me to the prom,
Great.
so he was like the only person. I didn't really wanna, you know, the
They're,
guys were kind of creepy at my high school, so anyway,
they're creepy everywhere,
so so anyway,
except for me.
so anyway, I forgot what the restaurant was called,
Yeah.
but it was in the Marriott Hotel on downtown Richmond.
I've been to that. I've been to that restaurant.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
forgot what it was called, but
They have a good they have a good tuna melt there.
oh,
That's all I can afford.
I had something better than that.
Yeah,
Though.
yeah,
I
the
had I think it was some kind of like
surf and turf
I think it was some kind of fish thing or something.
fish
I
sticks.
forgot what it was, but it was really good.
You know the fancy flounder they serve there?
Yeah.
Mrs. Paul's fish sticks. That's all it is. They just smush it all together and
Yeah,
and just cover it in sauce and say, "Yeah,
yeah,
you'll
yeah,
love it."
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So anyway, I we're going to my it's actually my brother-in-law's mother's birthday.
Oh
We go to
yeah,
Ruth Chris Steak House
yes,
and another group of 10 people.
yeah,
And I look at the menu and it is the most expensive stuff ever.
yeah.
I mean, steaks were like $75.
Wow. Ooh.
And they didn't even come with mashed potatoes or French fries or Brussels
Wow.
sprouts or
Really?
anything. They came, you ordered, and this is how it works there. You order like mashed potatoes or macaroni and cheese for the table or for your side of the table,
Yeah.
and that's like $20. But everyone takes a scoop out. It's too
Oh
much for
yeah.
one person to eat, and you wind up usually bringing most of it home
Yeah.
in a doggy bag. And the portions were quite big, considering, but for the price you're paying for it, they certainly should be.
Yeah.
So anyway, I ordered, even though it's a steakhouse, Ruth's Chris Steakhouse. I got the salmon with shrimp on it,
Oh
and
yeah.
but even though it was expensive, but it was cheaper than a lot of the stuff there.
Yeah.
Accordingly, they actually is when I looked at the menu, they said. what are you ordering, Kevin? And I think they wanted me to keep the price down because it was, I don't know who was paying for it, but they wanted to keep it.
Yeah.
So I said, I'll order the cheapest thing here. What is it? The hot dog. I'll get the hot dog. They don't serve hot dogs here. I said, oh, you're right. They don't serve a hot dog here in the menu. It says Frankfurter Ordinaire.
Okay.
No, and
Yeah.
so I remember the first time I ever heard of Ruth Chris Steakhouse was Rush Limbaugh used to advertise it a lot, and
Yeah.
Rush Limbaugh and his I guess the people who listened to his show were rich enough that they could eat there 3 times a day.
Yeah.
But you ask the average person about Ruth Chris Steakhouse, they probably have only been there once or twice, at the most 3 times. And this was, believe it or not, the first time I'd ever been to it.
Mm.
So the waiters are very nice. But they're very, as soon as you put a fork down, or they take your fork, they got a new fork, and they had cloth napkins.
Okay.
I thought there were little handkerchiefs there.
Right.
When
Right.
I was a kid, I thought they were handkerchiefs. Why did they give us handkerchiefs?
Yeah, I know.
Serviettes. And what else can I tell you about the place? They and but I'm sure it was a few $100 for all those people that were there. It was probably at least $150 for everyone to eat there.
Yeah.
It was 12 people,
Yeah.
and they all ordered. And oh, I was there was no kiddie table, but
Mm.
my side of the table were almost all kids,
Mm.
and me. And I like to sit with the kids at a dinner
Were
because
there any little kids there?
they weren't little kids; they were all teenagers.
Yeah.
But to me, I don't really know how old people are. Like they're all relatives of mine, like nephews and nieces, and certain ones were older than others. But to me, they all look like they were 16. A couple of weeks before, I went to a graduation. I went to a high school graduation of one of
Mhm.
my nephews,
Mhm.
and I look at the kids graduating, and on the big screens at the Siegel Center,
Yeah.
and they all looked so mature and poised and
Oh
when
yeah.
I graduated when I was 18 years old, I
Yeah.
looked like I was 13, and
Wow.
I was probably at the mental capacity of someone for 13. And then I
Yeah.
go to school go to college the next year, and I was
Yeah.
still, and believe it or not, the people I hung out with were no different from me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now kids look so mature and they have beards and they have fiber,
They have like
they have
too
hair
much.
on their chest.
They
I
have
had none of that.
they have too much makeup. They wear
Yeah,
like these. They
they
wear like these stilettos.
they they, they all they all look like the adults who play teenagers in Greece. That's what they look like.
Yeah.
Well, that reminds me, there was like a 20-year-old scout in the show To Kill a Mockingbird I saw,
Yeah.
and the other two actors playing the Jim and Dill are also about 20 years old or
Yeah.
so. I don't know how old they were, but when you see the movie or read the book, you think
Yeah.
of them as like 5 years old, 10 years old. I don't know how old
Yeah.
they were, but I actually said to my friend, why they pick 45-year-old actors to play 6-year-old kids?
Yeah.
And so I was so I go to the graduation. And did I talk about the graduation last week?
Yeah, you did.
Oh,
Yeah.
I've said enough.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was but but I've had quite the couple of weeks. It's been a
Oh,
good
yeah.
summer for me,
Yeah, me
and it's
too.
just getting started.
Yeah, me too. Because I just did a show like 2 weeks ago.
What was the show?
Dragon Slayers.
Tell us about that.
Oh, it was great. There was singing, everything, dancing, a lot of everything. And he came to support me, so
Well, I go see all my friends.
yeah,
Well, I
so
expect them to see my stuff.
yeah,
So it's tit for tat, you know.
yeah,
For years, people went to my stuff, and I was kind of hoping they would have concerts or something, and do. I love performing. I'll perform for free. I go to karaoke and stuff,
yeah.
and
Me
uh,
too.
and I sing duets with anyone who wants to sing a duet with me. And we were talking about duet albums. Like there are these Willie Nelson albums, duets. There's Tony Bennett duets. There's
Oh yeah,
Frank Sinatra duets, Ray Charles duets, and they sing like with Barbara Streisand or with Sheryl Crow or with uh, uh, you know, and what's weird is that they're not as good as the original recordings.
Yeah.
The original recording is so much better. I mean, oh great, oh Ray Charles and Sheryl Crow should be great, or Frank Sinatra and Barbra Streisand should be great. And then you say, I'd just rather hear the original version with just Frank or just. But I'll sing duets because I don't really think I'm that great a singer. So I always sound better when I'm singing with somebody else. Either they are better or they're worse, and then I come out looking good. So, and you've been watching movies. You saw Love Story.
Yes, I have the
Tell,
soundtrack of that actually.
tell me about Love Story.
Ryan
Ryan O'Neal.
It has Ryan O'Neal. There was a lady that was, I think it was her first film or something.
It was one of her first ones, Ally McGraw.
Yeah, Ally McGraw.
Yeah.
And I've only saw part of the movie. It was like when Ally McGraw dies in the end, and then Ryan O'Neal.
You gave up the secret, and the secret ending of the movie. No, it's actually I think it begins with her death. I mean, it begins with him talking about it, and then it's all flashback.
Yeah.
I read the book. It's one of the easiest books to read. It's only it's like a less than 200 pages, and it's such a good read that I read the whole thing in just a few hours because I just wanted to keep turning the pages. It was so good. Eric Siegel wrote it, who wasn't even a real writer so much. He was a classics teacher at Harvard, and they say he based the two characters on people he knew in school as his students, and to the point that he was a teacher to Al Gore when they were at Harvard and Tipper Gore, and Al Gore made the I don't know if it's a boneheaded statement that Love Story was based on him and Tipper. But Tipper didn't die. And they got a divorce 40 years later. But it was good while it lasted, I guess.
And the theme music was like da 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 da. Or something.
It's I tell you what the music is. It's very romantic music, and it was a very romantic theme of late 1960s when the movie came out. And
I think it came out in 1970.
Came out in 1970.
Yes.
And but the effect of it was for many years. Francis Lai wrote the music, and he's a French composer. He didn't write a whole lot of scores for American films. That's about the only one. Right. But he wrote the score to A Man and a Woman and a lot of French films. Right. And but he was a great composer. And dun 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 dun. Dun 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 dun. It's a famous theme, and it permeates the whole movie. Yeah. And Ryan O'Neal, who made a big star out of Ryan O'Neal, and Ally McGraw, of course. Ally McGraw had a pretty good career. Ryan O'Neal had a great career after that. He's still Ally McGraw's pretty much retired, but sometimes you'll catch Ryan O'Neal and stuff. Yeah. Ryan O'Neal, eventually made a film with Stanley Kubrick, Barry Lyndon. Yeah. So and a lot of Peter Bogdanovich films.
And he also made that movie
Paper Moon.
Paper Moon with Tatum O'Neal, which is his daughter.
His daughter won the Oscar. Yeah. And according to a book by her, he got jealous because he wasn't much of an actor. He was kind of a wooden actor. They said he was the most wooden actor since Pinocchio. But and then his daughter wins an Oscar, so of course there was some jealousy there. Why did I win the Oscar? But he had a better career than Tatum O'Neal. Tatum O'Neal made a few more films, but I think demons like I don't know what her mental health is like, but drugs. She got involved in drugs, and I think to the point now she's almost unhireable, which is sad because she's such a great actress when she can work. The Bad News Bears was good. And Little Darlings was good, and even recently, not recently, but about 10 years ago.
The Bad News Bears.
Yeah, she was in an episode of Sex and the City, and she was very good. And I mean, and she's still a beautiful woman. She's married to John McEnroe, but even John McEnroe had his fill. It's sad when some people can have so much talent and beauty, and then they just and it only goes to show you that when you admire or maybe even be envious of people with better looks or better talent than you, they might have a lot going on underneath that you don't know the first thing about. Just be happy that if you can wake up every day with a smile on your face and a laugh in your heart, you're ahead of the game.
Right, right,
That's how
yeah,
I live.
yeah,
That's how I live.
yeah.
Yeah. And so big fan of uh, Ryan O'Neal. Also was, I don't know if he was ever married to her, but he was, the love of his life was actually Farrah Fawcett Majors,
Oh yeah,
and she died sadly, but they had a good relationship. They had
yeah,
children and everything.
yeah.
Yeah, and uh, and she was great.
Yeah.
You
Was
said
this before she married Lee Majors?
no, it was after, long after Lee
Oh,
Majors.
okay.
Ryan O'Neal had sort of himself had sort of a bad reputation in Hollywood. His movies tend to be very good though, or
Yeah,
he tends to be the worst aspect of his movies. But he knows how to pick good movies. A lot of Peter Bogdanovich films, like What's Up Doc, is very good.
yeah.
A lot of films. He's made films with Barbara Streisand.
Oh yeah,
He's made films like and of course I mentioned he starred in a Stanley Kubrick film.
yeah.
Barry Lyndon. He's has the map of Ireland on his face. Ryan O'Neal. You can actually catch Ryan O'Neal on an early episode of Leave It to Beaver. He was probably in his like college age when
Yeah,
he did that.
yeah,
He was Peyton Place. He was a regular on
yeah.
in the day. And you said you were also a big fan of actress you don't hear so much about anymore, Shelley Duvall.
Yes, yes.
What do you know about Shelley Duvall?
Yeah, she played on The Shining with Jack Nicholson, and she played Olive Oil in Popeye. And her career, she mostly did like children like family friendly films.
She did this. She produced a TV show called Fairy Tale Theater.
Yes, yes. I was
That
getting
was
ready to say
after The
that.
Shining.
Yes,
Another sad story
yes.
is
I was getting ready to talk to you
tell
about
me
that.
about the sad story.
Her career through the years, after her career through the years, she had a mental breakdown.
Mhm.
And she was on Dr. Phil. I
That's
think it was
right.
a few years ago or years ago or something. And she had like this. She was like all down and mentally not with it. It was kind of sad.
She lives in Texas, where she's
She
from.
doesn't look the same as she did back.
Well, she's older.
Yeah, I know, but
Yeah.
she looked like she wasn't with it.
I'll tell you all about Shelley Duvall, her whole history. Shelley Duvall was I guess, an up-and-coming actress. I don't really know anything about her before she made her first movie. Her first movie is called Brewster McCloud,
Oh,
and she was discovered in Texas, Houston, Texas, I think, by Robert Altman, the great
okay.
filmmaker,
Yeah.
and he put her in lots of movies, including eventually Popeye. But she's in movies like Thieves Like Us. She's in Nashville, and Woody Allen put her in Annie Hall, and she's in quite a few films. She Her look is so strange looking,
Yeah, yeah.
not the typical leading woman, beautiful in her own way, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
And she um, Okay. Then for some reason, she catches the eye of Stanley Kubrick and puts her in The Shining. Now, according
Oh.
to, I don't know if this is true or not, but any person who appears in a Stanley Kubrick film just is, it takes like 2 or 3 years to make the film,
Yeah.
and they're filming like 20 or 30 takes for every shot,
Wow.
basically.
Yeah.
And to the point where I talked about this on Keith Van Allen's show, that during The Shining, um, Stanley Kubrick put Jack Nicholson through like 30 takes of
Wow.
what it says. He goes, and Jack Nicholson got so upset. He goes, why are you making me do this over and over again? At this point, I'm not even acting anymore.
Oh yeah.
And Stanley Kubrick said, exactly. It's now just, but Jack is this consummate actor.
Yeah.
Shelley Duvall, I don't know how much theater training she has.
Yeah,
She's a good
yeah.
movie star and
Yeah,
everything.
yeah, yeah.
But she, evidently, this may have, just filming this movie for 3 years straight with no break, and she made Popeye after that, and Robert Altman said after The Shining, she's a much better actress than she was when I used to work with her. I mean, before she was just a pretty girl. Now
Yeah.
she's actually an actress.
Yeah.
But then she kind of went away from acting and started doing these producing these TV shows for HBO Fairy Tale Theater. She might be appearing. I don't really know. You don't really see her in a whole lot. And then all of a sudden, you didn't see her at all.
Yeah.
Probably during this time. And then it came that Dr. Phil, when she did the interview with Dr. Phil was accused of exploiting her. Trotting
Oh
this
wow.
poor woman out. can't put two words together, puffing away on cigarettes and
Yeah.
everything, and looking haggard and old like an old lady. I'm sure she's doing fine. I'm
Yeah.
sure I'm sure she has a pension or she probably saved her money because I'm sure, she was a big hit at one time. I don't think she doesn't really have any scandals, like she had to get divorces
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then give money to the
Yeah.
gigolos and stuff. But that's Shelley Duvall, and sad because usually when you see Shelley Duvall in a movie, you're actually, that should be good. She's usually pretty good in her movie. She's even good in The Shining. I mean, you wonder what Jack saw in her, Jack's character, but she's basically the bedrock of sanity in the
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah.
She's the only one that doesn't have any secret powers in it.
Yeah.
Who's
Yeah.
not offended by ghosts
Yeah. Yeah.
you know what The Shining is? I mean, I think they explain it in the book, but they don't explain it in the movie. A lot of kids when they're born, like babies, they sometimes they don't survive this, but if the obstetrician is fast, they're born with a sheath on their face that
Oh.
shines, and it's basically some sort of sheath of skin or mucus or
Right.
something
Yeah.
that could suffocate a baby, and and they and this has been going on since the beginning of man. If the midwife or the obstetrician or something is fast enough, they just grab and take it
Right.
off. But they usually say that the baby is lucky, maybe has secret powers as a result of this. Now, they never explain what these secret powers are or what this luck is, but in the movie The Shining, they tried to say it had to do with
Yeah.
looking at ghosts and,
Right.
and having
Right.
and seeing things that aren't there,
Yeah.
or seeing things that are there that no one else can see.
Yeah.
In the concept of The Shining. Shining is, when I saw The Shining when it first came out, it was a big bomb. Nobody liked it. It's long. What's
I
this
thought it
movie
was
about?
good.
No, I didn't say it wasn't good. I said nobody seemed to like it or could make head or tail of it. Even Stephen King himself didn't care for the movie.
Yeah.
And then, for some reason, the birth of home video and DVDs and everything, now it's considered the greatest horror film of all time.
Yeah.
It's probably Jack Nicholson's greatest movie or most popular movie,
Yeah.
that and Batman,
Yeah.
and then also yeah, it's this wonderful movie now
Right.
that didn't get any. Another movie like that was Scarface.
Right.
Another movie like that was the Shawshank Redemption.
Yeah.
These are movies that were always good, but it took people seeing them over time to
Yeah.
realize how ahead of their time they were.
Right. Right. Yeah.
You do something ahead of its time, it's not a good thing because then everyone complains how terrible it is, and then years later they say how great it was.
The funniest
I
part.
could have told you that.
The funniest part I liked about The Shining.
Yeah.
Is when Wendy comes downstairs to come see her husband, check on her husband.
Yeah.
And then he types on his typewriter.
Yeah.
And he's like, Wendy, you are breaking my concentration.
Yes. And it turns out he was just typing the same sentence over
Yeah.
and over again. Yeah. Yeah, that's something
Because
else.
the ghost got him when they were
Yeah.
living there.
Yeah.
So. And at the end of the movie,
Yeah.
they had like this big picture from like 1927 or something. And then he was in the middle of it.
It was the 4th of July party, 1921. And 1921.
Oh, I thought it was.
Well, there's a reason why I had to correct you. 1921 was that was the last year of drinking before Prohibition.
Yeah.
So people were partying it up.
Yeah.
And yes, last year was the 100th anniversary of
really?
the start of Prohibition,
Oh, okay.
2021. So and on my not profile pic, my cover pic on the 4th of July is always that picture from The Shining.
Yeah. Sorry about that,
4th of
guys.
July.
Sorry about that, guys. I apologize.
No.
1921.
You were close, but to be honest with you, after I saw The Shining, that was kind of one of the weird things about it. What's this picture?
Yeah.
Now I understand it, but at the time,
Yeah.
it shows you how ahead of its time it was.
When I first started watching it, the first time when I was younger.
Yeah, and Jack appears at the bottom,
Yeah.
a younger version
I always
of him.
thought that was weird.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's not the older Jack you see in the movie. It's a younger version of Jack. Now he's a ghost of all the crazy people that lived in that hotel.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the sh- the Shining, yeah, The Shining was made entirely in England on sound stages. Yeah, they only filmed they filmed a little in Colorado without the director. He wouldn't go to America to film it. He's from New York, from the Bronx. Stanley Kubrick. Once he moved to England to make, I think it was Lolita. He never came back. He never. I think he came back once to America for the premiere of 2001: A Space Odyssey, and only because he wanted to tinker with it before its New York premiere or something,
Right,
or
right.
Hollywood premiere.
Oh, okay, okay.
He was still tinkering with that film up until it was actually wet. They said when they finally showed it. But yeah, he. Oh, I got. I think I told you. I think I said this once on the Keith Van Allen show. Is that if you were worked in a video store, I heard this video store. I didn't know this. If you applied for a job there, they always ask you, your name, your age, that type of thing, what days can you work. But they also said, who is your favorite film director? And if you put Steven Spielberg, they threw it in the garbage, your application. But if you said Stanley Kubrick, then you got the job.
So then, so I guess they must didn't like Steven Spielberg for a reason.
Well, they thought that. I mean, now he's considered like the greatest director, but at the time, we're